Harrison City. What is the best source for news of wrestling and gaming out there?
The Realest Podcast!
Darn right!
What is going on, guys, and good evening. You're listening to the Realest Podcast, and welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm Blake Carter, joined by Andrew Benz, no Kyle LaPorte today. So we got really big news for everyone. Enter 61 is what you're listening to. Fire with Fire. I have, again, big stories happening, and then obviously the one you see, probably the biggest one going into this week, announced Tuesday, Roman Reigns being suspended. Let's wait till we before we get into that. Andrew, you've been gone. Well, not gone from the show, but doing your own thing. How's everything been?
No, everything's been good. We had a good week. Got to teach a lot of high school juniors about the political process and basically how to vote and how to get involved in our country. And it was a good pleasure. I had a lot of fun. I know they had a lot of fun. And shout out to Harrison City. Congratulations on graduating from New Jersey Boys State. We're ready to go.
All right. Well, let's get the more depressing or sad news out of the way. Talk is Jericho. Chris Jericho's podcast actually had Chris Benoit's sister-in-law. So this is Chris Benoit's Chris Benoit's wife's sister on the show. This is her first interview since being apart or being since the incident a long time ago. Sandra Toffolini. I'm sorry if I got her last name wrong. I'm just going to go by Sarah. She went on and, she had nothing but it wasn't like a normal, interview with someone that sibling was murdered. Usually you have, F this guy, he's a murdering SOB. She said a lot of good things that, he was a good person until the incident happened. It wasn't him, that it basically was not him, the person that did the incident. She went into a lot of the details after the incident, during the incident. Look, I really don't want to get into it, a lot of the detail, because it's kind of gruesome. Well, I wouldn't say gruesome, but it is kind of like, oh wow, like I cannot believe that. It's a must-listen to episode of Talk is Jericho. I will be putting that into the description. 100% will be putting that into the description. Words that were, are really kind of hard to explain what she really says. The biggest thing is once he won the title, she said that he really changed. He would take different cars and different routes to his house. He's very afraid that people were following him. And then the incident happened. He, from what she's saying, he truly went crazy. The most recent thing he searched on the internet was the easiest way to break someone's neck.
Wow.
The way he killed himself, of hanging himself, was actually kind of brutal and kind of crazy. He was a big person in the weight room. He was big for working out. He got, I don't know what the machine was called, but he got so many weights that it was like the human, it's not human. He was superhuman, basically, with what he did. And that's the way he, hung himself, was he got so much weight where it pulled up on him. It's crazy, everything that she said, and I know I've said that like 3 times, but I mean it's great. It was a great podcast. Chris Jericho, probably one of my favorite podcasts out there. I mean, as soon as Seth Rollins returned, Seth Rollins is on there. He has Damian Sandow, and now the Chris Benoit thing. Now, a lot of people go out there around the Hall of Fame and say Chris Benoit deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. They said this in the podcast. Andrew, you can give your opinion on this also. No, he does not need to be in the Hall of Fame. They should keep him away from it because this whole incident almost destroyed WWE, almost took it down.
Mhm.
Oh, and seriously, it did. What he loved doing almost went down because of what happened. People are, he's easily getting back into the network if you like watching like the early pay-per-views, and then if you also like watching the like raw replays from the early 2000s season there, they're easing into that. But do not plan on seeing Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame at all. If he gets into the Hall of Fame, it's gonna be crazy on the news.
Well, you got to look at it this way, and it's not surprising that the WWE would shy away from something like this, considering, what went on behind the scenes. It's not something like Eddie Guerrero where he was found dead, and it wasn't something that he did to himself. You know what I'm saying? It's such a hard topic to discuss, and the WWE has always shied away from individuals who have sort of, and I hate to say it, slandered the name of the company, whether it was something very tiny or whether it was something like on this scale. I mean, for years now, people have been saying that, the late China should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I totally agree with it because, she was, definitely an icon, and, she did one little minor thing really that would slander the company, and that was of course her involvement within the pornographic industry. But it was never something to the severity of downright murder suicide, and
Double
I
murder
think
suicide.
double murder suicide. Sorry about that, but I mean that's the thing though. It's such a big difference on the spectrum. Well, and really the WWE doesn't want to call back to it. It's not something that you can come back from in that instance. So I could see why they just don't want Chris Benoit involved. And I'm surprised they're even allowing the footage of Chris Benoit to even be there. But I mean, you have to take into consideration for the network. It's a very important thing to have because Chris Benoit, for the longest time, for most of the brand split, was a big fixture in the company.
The guy
You
would
know,
have been a legend.
absolutely. He was loved by the fans. He was a general in the ring. He knew how to pick people apart, and he attracted fans on an unparalleled level. But unfortunately, with this one incident that occurred, it's just something that kind of stains his life and his career to the point where you just can't come back from it.
Another thing I'd like to say is, one of the things that I'm not, like I said, I'm not getting into details of what he did, but Sandra straight up said it's weird because the murders and everything spanned in 3 days. First happened Friday night. Saturday was the second one, early morning, and he did not finish everything until Sunday. I'm trying to pick the right words. I don't want to get in trouble for talking about this. Um, I went to Night of Champions this past, in 2015 in Houston, and one of the first things I saw was a kid with a Chris Benoit deserves to be in the Hall of Fame T-shirt, and he was, Benoit deserves, he's, chanting, he's got a petition out and everything, and I look over at the co-host at the time, Chris, and I say no, that's just no, and he agreed with it. He's like, no, way too soon, We look at it, and yeah, it happened. What, 2006? It happened
I think it was 2007, if I'm not
2006,
mistaken.
2007, 9 to 10 years ago. It's way too soon to even think about that.
Absolutely.
Look, the WWE, and I think they are, do not allow him in the Hall of Fame. No. And I know there's Chris Benoit lovers and people believe, oh, well, he deserves it. It would do nothing but hurt them, and it could do nothing but drag in wrong media for him. And, they've dropped it. The last thing you've heard about Chris Benoit was when they did that one, I think, Monday Night Raw, where they didn't do a single, they didn't even do the show. They had JR and Jerry the King Lawler at ringside of where they were supposed to do Monday Night Raw, and all they did was do Chris Benoit highlights for the 2 hours. That's it.
Hmm.
Um, that, like I said, that's all that they need to do. Just leave it alone. Don't allow him in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't even say don't allow him. Just stay away from it. It's way too soon. I think the whole network thing, they're easing into it. That's okay. But stay away from the Hall of Fame.
I'm surprised they even discussed it, or he brought her on to discuss it this long away from it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that thing where it's been gone for 10 years, or at least the discussion of this has been gone for 10 years, and then all of a sudden it's surfacing again.
Well, still,
it might not have been a good mood. Good move.
No, I wouldn't say it was a bad move. I think it was good. I think because it still comes around, because I don't want to say anniversary, but it's it happened a couple of days ago, 9 or 10 years ago. So I think them doing it is okay because he was very careful with everything. It wasn't like he was asking the super hard questions and putting her on the spot. She eased into everything. So again, this is a podcast that if you're interested in this type of stuff, if you want to hear this is a must listen without a doubt. And if you hear drinking in the background, that is my dog. So let's move into something, and this is another thing is gonna be briefly talked about. This is gonna be a shorter show, easily, and I say that every time I say it's gonna be a shorter show, we go about an hour. The Cruiserweight Classic started a couple days ago. What was announced a couple days ago is Mauro Ranallo will be your head commentator, play-by-play, and Daniel Bryan will be the colored commentator or the basically backup person. And, I think this is an all-star cast. Andrew, is there anything you're wanting to say about them?
Well, especially Daniel Bryan. I mean, we already know about what his counterpart could do on SmackDown, Mario Rivera, but Daniel Bryan is...
Mauro who?
I don't even know how to say his name. Ranallo. But Daniel Bryan has been away from the company for about, 5 months now? I mean, since he announced his retirement. It's been a while. And one of the things that I was thinking to myself as soon as he was announcing his retirement, which came sudden but kind of expected, is what's going to be next for Daniel Bryan? Is he going to disappear from the company? Is he going to come back? I was hoping he was going to come back as a commentator, and you heard the news about him participating in the Cruiserweight Classic, and I was thinking about it, and maybe this is a lean-in for him to get into commentating into the company. Possibly, something into the SmackDowns to the Raw. You never know. I mean, if he does well in the Cruiserweight Classic, it could be a stepping stone to bring him back into the company. I mean, he would be an excellent commentator for a face. I mean, everybody would love him, and it's not going to be like another Michael Cole where everybody boos him. But he definitely has the potential to prove himself on that platform, and the fans would love to see him back into the environment of WWE.
If you want the God honest truth, the second episode of Wrestling Rocks, what we were formerly called, for if some people do not know, was actually the Daniel Bryan retire night. That Monday Night Raw, that actually caught us a break. At the time, we got 10 views. And then the night before, there were the rumors of Daniel Bryan returning. That was February 7th, that we got that for 22 views. And then the second, episode of Wrestling Rocks was the first episode. It was basically, in my opinion, the first episode for us. And it was him retiring. And it happened on February 8th. And 2 days later was the video I made of Daniel Bryan hiding his seizures from WWE that he announced on the Jonathan Coachman Off the Top Rope. That, if I'm not mistaken, to this day has the most views. 49. I'm actually going through, but, as much as I hate saying this, Daniel Bryan kind of gave us our first break.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's anything Daniel Bryan, it's something that draws fans. He's such a huge fixture in our company, and it's kind of that hero that everyone took by surprise. It's when WWE was searching for the next quote unquote John Cena, Daniel Bryan was that person that they wanted to be in Roman Reigns' shoes right now. They wanted him to be the next John Cena in a sense because he was so loved by the people. But the problem is with his injuries, and for somebody that competes on the level that he does and gives as much as he does, I mean, you look at somebody like Edge. Edge always competed as hard as he can, as much as he can for the fans, and eventually the injuries just piled up on him. And Daniel Bryan, not wanting to retire, kept trying to come back, and eventually it got to the point where the doctors told him, and if you don't stop, you're going to be paralyzed from the waist down, and he had no choice but to kind of retire.
Well, Vince called him and said, "Hey, I want you to retire in Seattle." And this is a quote from Daniel Bryan. He went to his wife Bree, and they were talking, and they both came to the conclusion: no matter how many doctors, it could be 100 doctors to clear him, WWE wasn't going to allow him to wrestle. And I actually was mistaken. First off, thank you guys, because I just found out from looking through our videos, we have a video over 100 views. Thank you guys very, very much. Next big thing, episode 3 actually has the most views of 106. I mean, I think it's crazy to even look at that we have 106 views on one of the one of the videos. We're gaining, mostly 10 views every single time we do a show, and that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. I think we should move on from this and get into the big topic that everyone is talking about this week, and that's Roman Reigns and his suspension. Now, before we get into it, let's just let everyone know. The WWE knew that Roman Reigns failed the wellness policy and that he violated it. So, this is before Money in the Bank. So, for his punishment, it was going to be him losing the title. Well, it got leaked Monday night or Tuesday, early Tuesday morning, and the WWE had nothing. They had to suspend him. So, I haven't given my opinion, but I want to hear your opinion. All the background noise you're hearing is from my dog. What do you think about the WWE knowing all of this and waiting till the news got leaked to suspend him, when we recently had people like Adam Rose, who got suspended indefinitely, Titus O'Neil got suspended for touching Vince McMahon, and then Victor getting suspended for the same thing? What do you think about all this?
Well, see, and this is where people might be surprised, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you just named off a couple of great athletes who got suspended for less, who got pretty much blacklisted for less. Roman Reigns, though, he was their Superman. You say it every single time on a show. He's the Superman. He's the guy that they want to carry them into the next generation. And WWE will give preferences to those top name superstars because of who they are and what they want from them. So it doesn't surprise me that they kind of wanted to shuffle aside this and kind of say, okay, well, you know what? We're going to make it drop the title. We might take off a few shows here and there and then, bring it back, after it. It's like a light punishment. But as soon as the news leaks, well, what does WWE do with this circumstance? Well, they just made Roman Reigns lose the title, and now everyone knows what happened. And if you are the WWE, it puts you in a bad position, especially with guys that just came back like Connor, Connor.
Was it Connor?
To return. Yeah.
I said Victor, my bad. Connor.
So we got Connor, we got Adam Rose, we have Titus O'Neil, who have all been through the same, form of judgment. Well, what kind of message does it send to them, especially guys like Titus O'Neil, who just came back and who is still with the company? If they did something mildly different than Roman Reigns, Titus O'Neil, he just sort of took the punishment and came back, and he's back and he's happy, I'm sure, to be back. But if you look at Roman Reigns getting a light punishment and then finding out about that and them not doing anything about it, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like him just up and left and went to another company like TNA or New Japan Wrestling. I mean, why would you stay in a company that would lie to you and give you a lesser punishment just because you're not a higher up on the card?
Right.
It's just a no-brainer.
Here's my thing. If they knew about this, they should have done something about this. This makes the WWE look bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You got to treat everyone equally. You get rid of Adam Rose, boom, as soon as he fails it. And, his was prescribed. He even had the doctor write a letter or a note. And then Connor. Again, I said Victor. I know you guys can roast me. I said Victor. I meant Connor. And now Roman Reigns, who, listen, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist, but you're not in trouble, okay? It's okay. Don't cry. It's okay. Look, he messed up. Better words of it, and excuse my French, he fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves to be punished for 30 days, which now he gets, and he's getting off on July 21st. He's missing the draft, but we're still going to see the triple threat match. That was the big question after it was announced was what's going to happen. Then on SmackDown, it's still going to happen. We're still going to see the triple threat match. It's a lot of promos that Roman Reigns doesn't get to be in. I've seen stories saying, Roman could come back heel. That's not going to happen.
Well, I think that this question is a two-parter, honestly. First of all, how are they going to do this without damaging the triple threat match going forward, without Roman Reigns being able to be a part of WWE in terms of like promos, in terms of coming out and hyping up the fans, or getting involved with the conflict to kind of build the tension for this triple threat match, which has been long awaited since forever, since Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. They've wanted this. And the other question you have to take in mind is the idea of, well, now that Roman Reigns is coming back, right? How does he fixture into the organization? Because it sort of looks bad on them as well too from this perspective. You just suspended him for 30 days after taking the title away from him, and you have other people that have been suspended, and of course you give Titus O'Neil a big push, but you're not pushing him enough to get the United States title, unfortunately, right? So Roman Reigns, what do you do with him? Are you just going to ignore the fact that he did this? And like I said, it's a big mess up. It's one mistake. People do it. It's human. It's life. It's human, But does he deserve to come back and get the title right away? And the way I'm looking at it, it could possibly happen like that. Why? Because he's Superman. They don't want him to leave that title right away, and they want him to be back in the title picture.
Yeah. You know what? They need to run with the.
They need to stick with Dean Ambrose.
Yes, they need to stick with him. By the way, John Garcia from the Boy State I Am Cider, that's what he put for his hashtag, said Drew in one of our videos. And I want to say it was the last Monday Night Raw or 2 weeks ago. Just letting you know that. Last one you were on. Look, you got to stick with Dean Ambrose. If you look, you guys screwed up as a company by saying, hey, we're not going to punish you. We're just going to take the belt off you. Now that this has come out, what kind of image does it give that your top guy failed the wellness policy? Again, we don't know what it was that he failed. From what I have understood, the wellness policy is a drug test. So he could have been on marijuana. He could have been on... obviously, he's not on any of the hardcore stuff because it would show. But there's, what kind of image does that give you as a company by letting your top guy be the guy that failed the wellness policy? You need to go with Dean Ambrose for a while, have Roman... look, if I had it my way, he'd come back as a heel and build himself back up as a heel. But
right.
He needs to be at a mid-card or at the semi-main event, not at the main event picture. I think this main event needs to be his last for a while.
I totally agree, but it's just the big question is, are they going to keep doing what they have done in the past, which is have Superman, pretty much dominate everything, no matter what. I mean, even when he lost the title. I mean, I heard you complaining on and off about how, Roman Reigns took that spear into the pedigree, he just got right back up.
Watching Money in the Bank, you would have said, man, what an ending. Did you see that pedigree? Now we say he kicked out of that one, but he didn't kick out of the other one.
Yeah, it's just like it kind of like makes you lose the touch to that. Like really? Like he kicked out of the big pedigree, but he doesn't kick out of the small pedigree?
We look at it now as if that move never happened.
Right.
Which is crazy. If you want my final opinion, again, we said this would be a shorter show of keeping it real. We're not lying this time. If you want my final opinion on all this, I think that the only reason this triple threat match is happening is because I think they're going to be separated when the draft happens, July 19th. Almost said 29th. On the 19th. So I think we have to do this match for everyone because everyone's looking forward to it.
Mhm.
So I think that's my final thought on it. I think that's the only reason why he's still in this title match.
I feel like they can't go back on it at this point. Like, after getting the fans so excited. But how do they go forward with the triple threat match without Roman Reigns being in it for the next 30 days?
That, you know what? That's something we're gonna have to find out on Monday. But here's the big thing. I want to get off my chest before we do also end. We might not like Roman Reigns and we might not like his character, but we're not gonna sit here and say thank God he failed that wellness policy. You don't ever want to see that with anyone. I'm sure Roman Reigns is a very, very nice guy outside of the ring. Sure he is, but I'm not sitting here saying I'm glad that he did what he did, because that's awful to say. I do not wish that upon anyone.
I mean, we're not looking at it in that perspective. I think we're looking at the perspective that we're seeing the product for what it is right now and how he's being pushed down our throats. It's not that we don't like him. It's just that we kind of want to see other things go on. And, there's so much you could do with Roman Reigns. Like, when he was with S.H.I.E.L.D., when they were heel, Roman Reigns was the guy. And I hate to take it from him, but he was. He was a monster. He was almost the equivalent of Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
when he was in the
they
show.
were really pushing him. And you could tell towards the end that they were pushing for him to be like the face.
So, I mean, give him a chance to go back as a heel. He'd be an excellent heel. And then if he's going to get booed by the fans anyway, let him get booed as a heel, because that is what a good heel does.
But, I've said it in the past before you joined. He has so much heat that if he turned heel, he would still have so much heat. That's perfect. What heel right now has that heat? AJ Styles. No. Kevin Owens gets cheered. AJ Styles as a heel gets cheered like a face. Seth Rollins as a heel gets cheered like a face. No one in that company that's a heel right now is getting booed by the entire crowd.
Right.
Maybe Rusev. Maybe.
On a good day. I think back when he was facing John Cena, he got more boos. Back when he was doing the I Hate America speech. I mean, he's not doing that anymore.
I mean, that's with any American. If you play the, F America, you're just, what?
I mean, it used to be so frustrating, especially when Rusev used to come out and pull his flag down, and always ruin somebody like Jack Swagger who always had the chance to pull out the American flag,
Yeah, I think that's the only time anyone ever got behind Jack Swagger. But, is there anything you're wanting to say to possibly your students that were listening before you go?
Well, just, again, congratulations on graduating. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing to the show. We definitely appreciate it.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe. And definitely leave comments below if there's anything you want to know about. We'd definitely be happy to respond to it. Also, make sure to check us out, because we pretty much broadcast every Monday night, soon every Tuesday night once July 19th comes around. Then, of course, we have Thursday night. We do our next big thing with everything NXT. And don't forget, Saturday, like tonight, is Keeping It Real.
Yeah. So, like he said, I might not repeat it, but be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying what you're listening to. Also, hit that subscribe button, that way you never miss a show. We go live Mondays. We have a show Wednesday. We have a show Thursday. We have a show Saturday. And then occasionally when WWE goes live with a pay-per-view or an NXT live event, we go live beforehand with a prediction show and immediately after with our results. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/@/Realest Podcast or @Realest Podcast. Facebook.com, search The Realest Podcast. So for Andrew Bass, I'm Blake Carter, and until next time, peace out.